Hello, welcome back to my channel. And if you're wondering why I'm all dolled up today, it is because it's my birthday and I've just come back from my birthday lunch, and I thought that I would take advantage of being all made up and looking nice to film the intro of this video. Anyway, what we're going to do today is something that I think you guys are going to really like, because this is maybe the move that I get asked about the most. It's definitely up there in the top 2 or 3. I get asked by students wanting to learn it, or by people who have seen my act and it's something that really stood out to them. And it's a shoulder stand balance with no legs on the hoop. It's a balance and straddle. I mean, you probably saw the thumbnail to this video, so you probably have a clue what's going on here. Before we get started though, I am gonna put out a few little precursors to working on this move. First off, this is an advanced move. So to start training this move, you need to be very comfortable in your normal shoulder stand with your legs on the hoop. Secondly, I don't recommend training this move if you are injured, because it really does engage your full body. You're using all the muscles in your body to hold your balance. So if you're injured, it's maybe not the right time to start working on this. I strongly recommend doing this at a low height over a mat. Obviously, I always recommend training over a mat just in case something happens. You want something on the floor to protect yourself. But also with this one, it's going to make you feel more, what's the word I want here? Courageous. It's going to make you feel more secure to have a mat down. Having a mat is such a good idea. I'm just going to go off on a very small tangent. Having a mat is such a good idea for multiple reasons, not just because if you have a problem and you fall, there's something to protect you, but also because it makes you more confident in your movement because you know that there's a safety net. Obviously, as professionals, we almost never perform over a safety net or a mat. That's a whole different kettle of fish. At some point, I'll make a video talking about why we don't use mats in the circus, why we don't use safety nets. Totally different subject. Anyway, for this one, definitely recommend using a mat and training at a low height, just at least to get started, if not even after that a little bit. But in the meantime, let's get started and have a look at this move. Here we go.
Okay, first off, before we break it down, let's watch this in real time so you guys have an idea of what's going on. A couple of things that are really important to remember in this move. The first one is to really engage your abs and use your core muscles. Having those core muscles working and helping you is what's going to allow you to control your body and control your balance. The second thing to remember is to have the hips right over the shoulders and the shoulders right in the center of the hoop. If your shoulders are too far forward or back, or if your hips are leaning to one side or the other, it's going to be much harder to hold your balance. Now try to keep all that in mind while we break it down. We're starting from hocks on the top bar, and the very first thing I'm going to do is place my shoulder on the hoop. This is where I need to put my shoulder right in the middle of the hoop. If it's too far forward or back at this point, it's going to be too far forward or back when I go into the full position. I'm also placing my arms like I do with any normal shoulder stand. That is to say, my arm that's in front is bent at a roughly 90-degree angle. My hand is sort of just in front of my face. And my arm that's in back is straight, holding onto the hoop. This position allows me to have a lot of control over my body with my arm strength. Next, I'm taking off one leg. This is the same leg as the front arm, the arm that is bent, and bringing it around to the front. My shoulders and hips should be facing that front leg, and the leg should be pushing against the side of the hoop so I can unhook my back leg and slide it down, coming into a split. This is where we're going to change things up from a standard shoulder stand, because I'm going to take that back leg and circle it around. I want it to stay nice and low. I'm not circling it over the top of the hoop because that makes things a lot harder to balance. Instead, I'm keeping it kind of parallel to the ground as it comes around to meet the front leg. At this point, I like to take my hips slightly back. That just makes it easier to balance in this setup position. So I'm letting them come a little bit behind my shoulders. But on my very next move, I'm going to start to open up my legs, and my hips are going to go right back on top of my shoulders. This is a movement you might want to practice on the ground a few times, having your hips go back and the legs come in front of you, and then opening up your legs and lifting the hips up as high as possible. As my legs open up fully into a straddle, my hips should be coming right back on top of my shoulders. I'm stacking myself up like a stack of blocks. It's also not really necessary to have a super flat, flexible straddle split for this one. If my legs are in a V, if my split's not as big, that totally works as well. You don't need to have crazy, crazy splits. What's more important is having my shoulders with my core and my spine right on top of them, and my hips right on top of that. I'm also arching my back very slightly. It feels like a big back arch, but it's actually quite a slight back arch, as you can see here. But that's going to just help me have those hips right where they need to be. I highly recommend for this one taking a video or a photo just to check that the hips are right on top of the shoulders. Finally, I'm going to do a drop out of this, and the important thing is to drop towards the opposite side of the hoop where my head is. So you can see I'm going to roll away from my head. It feels more logical to roll towards my head, but that's not what I want to do. I'm rolling away from the head, and as I roll down, my leg is hooking naturally onto the hoop. I'm finally ending up below the hoop in a nice Delilah. From here I could continue my choreography, I could do some nice below the hoop moves, but this drop is just a really nice dramatic way to finish up the move. If I wanted to not drop down below the hoop, but instead stay inside the hoop, I could also just sit my hips backwards until they touch the back bar of the hoop and go into sort of a modified Varikai there by just letting my hips go back, 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 back until they're on the back bar of the hoop. Here it is one more time in real time. This is a really, really fun position to do, but like I said before, it just does take some time to learn. You gotta learn the balance, gotta learn the strength, gotta learn all the little details, and just to be confident in this position, which again is why I strongly recommend using a mat. Anyway, I think it's gorgeous and it's definitely worth the time to learn, and it's very, very useful for choreography.
Well, there you go. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. This is one of my favorite moves. I really love putting this in routines. It's so impactful. It really grabs people's attention. It's a great finish to a routine if you want to like go out with a bang. It's really great. I really love this one. And it's a great like ab strengthener as well, to be honest, because you're using your abs to hold yourself on your balance. I do, again, I'm just going to reiterate, I do want to reiterate that this is an advanced move and it does often take times to find your balance, to figure it out. So if you didn't get it today, don't stress. There's a lot of moves that it takes time to learn. I know that that's hard with our like Instagram culture of like, oh, I want to learn something today that I can film and put online. And there's a time and a place for that, but there's also a time and a place for like things that take time. So don't forget that. Don't be hard on yourself. If it's not a one-day project, it's good to learn things that take time. They're often the better things to learn. So with that little nugget of wisdom at the end, I'm just going to say, if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe, because I've got other tutorials for all kinds of stuff happening all the time. And also please do hit the like button on this video. And with that, I'm going to go continue my birthday, and I will see you guys next time.